Hey, welcome to episode 4 of Bloggers Are Weird. I'm your host, DJ Paris of thoughtsfromparis.com. And first, I would just like to say thank you. You guys have done such a great job of spreading the word. The number of subscriptions as well as the number of listens has just skyrocketed since the first episode. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Please continue to pass this podcast along, even if it's just to one person that you know. And I would really appreciate it. Also, support the sponsors. Go visit their website and decide if the product or service makes sense for you. So, okay, enough of that. Now let's talk about what we're going to be discussing today, which is, of course, once again, my dad's private parts, which is not something I really want to discuss, quite frankly, but it has to be done. So today is part 2 of the 2 parts. I didn't have to say that. That was redundant. But anyway, part 2 of Dad's Dick. So go grab a Pabst or whatever your drug of choice is. Mine are boring turkey sandwiches, and enjoy. Today's podcast is sponsored by romance-text.com. Looking to reignite the passion in your relationship? You have to check out romance-text.com. This is how to use text messages to bring back the passion and reignite the spark you once had. Now, if you're thinking this sounds cheesy, or maybe it's just learning how to send dirty text messages, it's actually not. This program by relationship expert Michael Fiore has been featured in over 200 television and radio shows. This program has a money-back guarantee, is normally $97, but listeners of Bloggers Are Weird get a special price of only $47 for the entire program. By purchasing the program, you help support this show. Visit romance-text.com and get the passion back. 2 stories about my dad's dick, part 2. About 5 years ago, when I was dating my future wife, I mentioned to her that I was a little embarrassed because I had a bit of shoulder and back hair. As a blonde person, this isn't the biggest deal in the world because the hair shows up lighter, but it still bothered me. I would shave the area every few weeks, but trying to reach your back is kind of a hassle. I mean, I've never even seen my back. And when I try to spin around real quick in the bathroom to catch a glance, I just end up going round and round a few times and getting dizzy. I'm like a mildly retarded dog who has never figured out it's his tail. Anyway, the thing about shaving my back is that it gets all prickly and irritated. I just wanted it gone. My girlfriend suggested I visit her anesthetician. I made an appointment telling her that I would try anything once, but secretly I was excited. As my shoulder and back waxing appointment was concluding, I didn't think twice of asking the waxer what men should do with their down there hair. I'd never been cool or much into fashion, and I didn't know the appropriate protocol. Her reply was that it was a matter of personal preference and also depended on what was going on down there. I immediately pulled down my underwear and showed her what I was dealing with. It didn't even occur to me not to expose myself. They're kind of like doctors, right? I mean, they wax vaginas all day for a living. Actually, that's really not much like a doctor at all. Doctors fix vaginas, and waxers just pull off hair. But either way, they see a ton of vaginas. My logic was that the penis is the male vagina, to which I think we can all agree. So I showed her. She took a cursory glance and gave me some advice. Later, when I told my wife that I had showed the waxer my privates to get some grooming advice, I was surprised to find out she was unhappy. It would be more accurate to say she was extremely angry, and even though I don't remember this ever coming up in our counseling sessions, it may have played a small part in the reason why she left. About the same time this happened, I had another interesting pubic moment, this time with my father. You do what to your what? I don't have to do much to set the stage here. I was at home in Peoria visiting my parents. I can't tell you what time of year or why I was there. Let's just say it was the 4th of July weekend on a Saturday mid-afternoon, okay? Plug in that visual while I roll out the rest of the details. After a 3-hour summer ride home with the top down, I was ready for a shower. People who drive convertibles on the highway know what I'm talking about. You get this heaviness in your hair and on your face, probably from all the crap in the air. It was time to freshen up, as they say in the movies, but I've never actually heard a woman say in real life. I made my way to the bedroom and unpacked, pulled out the shower gloves and my toiletry bag. Next, I stripped naked, as one would do when preparing to bathe. Crap, I had forgotten conditioner. Now, the thing about me is that at home, I don't really care who sees me naked. This can be confirmed by my family, who doesn't even bother telling me to cover up anymore. I mean, if I have to run through the house, now that I'm writing this, I realize how odd it is to run through one's home naked, but I really do sometimes. I have absolutely no idea, or rather, I have no issue or idea what I'm doing, but sprinting around without my clothes. I put one hand over my genitals, as is my instinct, but that's about it. Combine my predilection for nudity with the activity of getting ready for a shower, and you have a nude man walking around. So I was about to step into the tub. I realized, oh, I don't have conditioner. Heading out of the bathroom, I was fortunate to see my father walking to his bedroom. This is where their conditioner is stashed. I asked my dad if he would get some for me. He did, and came back moments later with a bottle. Probably Jehovah. The truth is, I have no idea what brand. I just think Jehovah is a hilarious word. Or maybe it's Joba. I don't know. As I was walking away back to the bathroom, he threw out an odd question. Do you condition your chest hair? I froze like you see in the movies when someone is walking away and the other person says something shocking. The person walking away stops and shudders, and that shot from the back of them with the camera. In this case, imagine me nude from behind stopping. This is a question I'd never heard, but I somehow responded, No, of course I don't condition my chest hair. Wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. Then it hits me. Do you? As casually as you would say your own name, my father had answered, with seemingly no emotional attachment to his response, Of course, your mother likes it. I spun around because clearly this is a conversation that needed to continue. So many thoughts, questions, judgments, and concerns. Not to bore you with the details, but I must have asked 6 more questions about this practice. Does it really condition the hair? How long do you have to leave it on? Do you wash, rinse, repeat, and then condition? Who taught you to do this? Stuff like that. He answered each question. I believe in his mind that this was a form of wisdom he was passing down from father to son. And in a way it was wisdom, for I'd never heard about conditioning chest hair. As I turned to finally get to the shower, he made one final comment. Also, down there. It works down there, too. Now I really did shudder. I've never once talked about pubes with anybody. Well, actually, that's not exactly true. I suppose I talked about it with girlfriends, but only to make sure they were cool with my grooming decisions. But I never spoke about it with my friends, my pastor, or employer. I turned to look because clearly he was making a joke. The whole chest hair conversation had to be a long setup, and the pubic hair was the punchline. Well done, Dad. Reminds me of the time I was coming back with my parents from a wedding for a family friend named Andrea. She's known as Rhea. I spent 5 minutes doing a setup on the car ride home that included a false story of her running around the reception in a state of panic. I built suspense, tension, and sincerity. I know how to do these things. Then I hit them with the punchline. So I went up to her and said, "What's so dire, Rhea?" I was 30 years old, and to me that was the greatest joke in the world. No hyperbole. Back to my father. When I spun around to read Dad's face after saying such an awful, awful thing, it was obvious he was not joking. This disappointed me. What was once a great joke was now a tragic admission. I immediately looked at my dad like there was something terribly wrong with him. Nobody should be that concerned with their pubic softness, I thought to myself. It's just not that important. But he was. But the omission of conditioning wasn't the problem in my mind. The issue was his statement that, to me, it meant that my father must have so much pubic hair that he needed to condition it. It was time for me to impart some wisdom of my own, but in the form of a question, just like Socrates. Don't you, keep it tidy down there? He looked at me as if I were an alien. The tables had turned. I was the weirdo now. No, wait, you shave you what? No. My father was now judging me while stumbling through his response. There's no way he wasn't intensely disappointed in his son. That generation did not trim their pubes. It just wasn't done. So I started backtracking to try to repair the damage just caused to our relationship. But I'm talking way too fast, like a guilty perp in a precinct interrogation room under the hot lamp. Well, it was just a little cleaning up down there, not like I'm talking about the whole thing. That would be crazy. I'm not crazy. It's totally normal to do this. Women expect it. Sort of, but no, I never thought about conditioning it. It's not a bad idea. No, sir, not a bad idea at all. Okay, I gotta go. Bye. As I showered, I realized we had both equally grossed each other out. I remember that as a youth, I had never received the masturbation talk or the sex talk. I suppose this is not unusual. But the more I thought about it, I arrived at this conclusion. You ought to have at least one uncomfortable moment with your father where you're both sharing something deeply personal and embarrassing. It will bond you in a way. It is in these rare experiences where you realize that you and your father are just people, and you escape the restrictions of the family dynamic, at least for the moment. You're just two guys talking about pubes. Okay, that wraps up the two stories. A duology? I don't know the word for that. Anyway, the two stories I've got from my dad and his private area. And I promise not to talk any more about my parents, their privates, and I can't promise not to talk about mine because I just wrote a story about how I gave myself a UTI. I never diagnosed it with a doctor. I just kind of thought that's maybe what happened. I think I took too many baths. I didn't know guys could get UTIs, but something was going on. Anyway, it's all fixed. I just want to say thank you for listening. Please visit romance-text.com. Support the sponsors. Support the show. Tell your friends, your family, and your best friend's friend who secretly hates you. All right, guys. Say goodbye, DJ. Goodbye.